Kng James, the man with the
Mm.
names. We ain't doing this for the fame.
Asha. Ah. One thing, or one of the first things that affected my devotional life was what I explained earlier, where I was
Yeah.
like, I took my eyes, off the Lord. It was
Off
like,
the
okay,
Lord,
you know what? I want to look somewhere else. A lot of people, when life changes, they are trying to, they are unable to change with life, if that makes sense. So what devotion looks like to them is what it has always been. It's like, oh, now I'm a mom, for example. I can't wake up and do 3 hours in the morning the way I was doing when I was a single woman. So now my devotional life is in the bin. Don't limit devotion to the structure that you built, for in a certain season. This is the start of a new era. Yahweh calls the shot, I'm the bartender. In other words, I'm the bearer of a newsletter sent by a carpenter. But best believe that I don't play, boy. Hugh Hefner. Saved and I got style like Christian Dior. Kings aren't elected, I ain't the governor.
Come on. Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode on Backed by the Word. And I'm your favorite host, Dumaje Francis, you already know. And today I want you to actually say it yourself because I know, what am I going to say next? I've got someone special with me. You got it right. Someone special because you are all special. He is special. I am special as well. I've got someone very special with me, all the way from. Should I tell them? I should tell them. All the way from Abuja, recording live in Lagos right now. I've got here with me
Kng James.
I love the way he says it, Kng James. I should probably put King behind my name.
You can.
I don't know what it sounds like, King Dume. Like it doesn't. It doesn't sound. My
think,
name doesn't deserve.
I think
Not
it
deserve
banged because it already banged previously. So I just.
I see what you did there.
So.
That's good. I think even what you did now, it just drew my attention to the fact that when I was going through your YouTube, I saw some of the songs that you did.
Yeah.
And, like, bro, how do you do it, man? It's so good.
I'm done. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Before we
A lot.
finish, you give us one or two bars.
I don't know.
Are you ready for that?
That's,
Are you all ready
I
for that?
think I have a few memorized. So
You have a
yes,
few
I can
memorized.
I don't
I have
freestyle.
a few. Let me give you something.
Oh yeah, no.
Let me do something. Give me a word. Let me use King James.
Okay. Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Kng James, the man with the names. We ain't doing this for the fame.
Asha. What are we doing it for?
Huh?
We're doing it for.
We're doing it
his
for the
name.
gains. For his name.
I don't freestyle.
I'm sure I did good. I think you should rate me.
Tried,
You know, give it a 10 over 10 in the comment
I'll give it
section.
like a 4. It's
More like a 4.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, bad. Go bad, Rara. But so today we'll be continuing the men series where we're bringing to light a lot of struggles that we as men. Sorry to the women, or it's not that we don't want to talk about women, but it's more because a lot of times I feel like men shy away from their issues.
Trust me, I'm sure there are like a million female podcasts that you can watch on this particular episode for you guys. You're fine. I'm sure there's enough content for them. It's fine.
Yeah, there's gonna be a women series coming up eventually at some point, you know. Maybe not maybe not me, sir. I'll be talking about it. But like bringing to light a lot of things that men go through. Because I think we live in a world where men have been built to be tough skinned, you know. Like I remember I mean a sad moment, but when I lost my mom, I remember the words my father told me. He said, I wanted to cry, and he said I should stop crying, and I was like, why? And he said, you need to be strong for your sisters. And then in my head, I'm like, but all of us lost the same person. Yeah. But it's just like, as men, like we've been taught to like firm a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then it now makes it difficult for men to open up about things that are going through. And there's this expectation of men to be the leaders, right? But I think we all need to understand that being a leader does not mean you don't have struggles. Being a leader is more like is a privilege, is an opportunity to lead.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily because you are the best in the room. It's more like you've been appointed to lead. So when you have your struggles, then you share your struggles. But a lot of times people find themselves in positions where they want to look like it's going fine. But I think if you live a life where you don't show your struggles, you only show the good parts, right? It makes it difficult for people to relate to what you've
Yeah.
actually, been through. So today we'll be talking about maintaining a devotional life with God. And who else would we call to speak on this other than the emoji beside me? The one and only, like he said, King
I'm done.
James.
Like, who else? You think I have breakfast with God every other day?
Oh, I
But
thought you
I
did.
mean, bruh,
Maybe like a cup of tea or
no, no,
something,
we're not
No,
there yet.
you're
But
not there yet.
yes, yes,
But
yes.
soon,
It's calm.
soon.
Yes, I think we're
Great.
in a good enough place at least to have this
To
conversation.
have this
Yeah,
conversation. Okay, great. So I think before we start talking, I think I'll just like, you to share a bit more about your ministry. Maybe how did it come to light?
yeah.
How did you get to that point? Because I see that you're actually focused on the devotional life with Christ. So how did you then get to that point?
I mean, my walk with God has been long.
Mm,
I've believed since I was a kid.
mm,
To be fair, like the second I could grasp the things that, at least to an extent, the things that were being presented to me, so the truths that were being presented to me by my parents
mm,
about God, and I could understand again to some extent what they were talking about. I knew
mm,
that this was it. I
mm,
knew is now, I would say, in my spirit, but then I just had this strong
mm,
feeling, that this was it. And it wasn't just a this was it. It was a this was it, and there's nothing else.
there's nothing else.
Like, if you try and look for this anywhere else, you won't find it. Like,
Mm,
there's nowhere else. This is it, and this is all that there is. Like,
mm,
that was how I knew it. That's how I
yeah.
received it. This was when I was like, what, maybe six,
At the
something
age of
like that.
6.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, I was really, really young.
I
Like, I
wonder
was
what I was doing at the age
really,
of
really
6.
young. So, but that's just for like the knowledge
Mm,
of him. So from then I knew, him. But obviously, like, growing up, like we're just talking about prior
yeah.
to like recording, your typical Nigerian home or African home is like morning devotion or evening devotion type vibe. So,
What was your mom's
um,
first song? Was it
bruh,
Good
look at me if he's
Morning,
yeah, it's
Jesus?
all in the morning. It
Eddie.
must be one of those guys. But yeah, so we did that a lot
Yeah.
growing up, and that definitely helped. A lot of scripture that I know till date
Mm,
stemmed from learning memory verses and things like that. Still till date itself, and I feel like that's
mm,
also, you see that a lot in churches where it's
yeah.
like nobody knows new songs. Everybody is still hung
They
up on the
hung up
songs
on
that
the
they were
songs that they
singing
came
that year,
for.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just a testament to like how great a
Mm,
job our parents did, at least some,
yeah.
of our parents. So yeah, that was like my first, engagement with some sort of like a devotional life,
Mm-hmm.
fellowshipping with God. So that helped me a lot. When I became like a young adult, it wasn't that deep anymore. I
Yeah.
wanted to see what else was out there, what's inside this life, that kind of vibe, and went on my own journey. Eventually, found out what I always knew, what I said I knew when I was six ish, and
Mm,
that was, this is all that there is. And
mm-hmm.
if you try and look
Nothing
for this
else.
anywhere else, it doesn't exist. So 2017, I guess I don't like to say, or like rededicated, I don't know. Or like I basically, that was when I submitted to the Lord, if you will.
Mm,
Like, so it was very conscious, it was very active, it was like, what, Lord, I'm done, like,
mm,
just living for myself kind of vibe, and now what do you want? Like, what do you want me
mm,
to do? That's when I started Instagram.
mm,
So yeah, that's when like life really started for me, in terms of now I'm doing what I believe I'm supposed to be doing,
mm-hmm.
but in pockets here and there, my devotional life was very on and off. I
Mm,
mean, church helped, so going, I was always in church. So I used to play keys,
oh, yeah.
I play bass as well. So I
Yeah.
feel like God used those things to just keep me
Speaking
around,
of that, do you know that? I'm the opposite. So my being a kid, my dad bought me a keyboard and a guitar,
Yeah,
but it's still in the box in his
I'm
house.
done. That's mad. But yeah, I feel like the Lord used those things to, really keep me, because I love music. I mean,
Mm,
clearly. So, and somehow every time I would go to a new church,
yeah.
they either didn't have like a keyboardist, or they didn't have a bass guitarist or something. So there
Ah.
was space somehow, in every, at least the ones I went to,
Yeah.
so it would make me plug in, at least, even if not for the best reasons, I was there,
Mm,
so those helped. But I think 2017, when I decided to submit to the Lord, I mean, my devotional life definitely, bruh, yeah, took a serious turn up. But yeah,
yeah.
just in terms of studying, so I went, I ate anything I could find, man.
Mm,
I was reading.
mm,
I did like a week at Mofbi,
mm. Yeah,
Winners,
the
their
Bible
Bible
school.
school. Yes,
Yeah.
so I traveled to Glasgow then. So I was in Scotland. Traveled to Glasgow, a
Yeah.
week intensive,
Oh, they
like
have
eight to
one in
eight.
Glasgow.
Yeah, I did that.
Mm.
YouTube, watched anything I could find. Miles Monroe was the first person I,
Mm.
found. I really watched a lot of him. Then just went from him to different preachers and things like that. So yeah, that was me for like 2 years. Then I'd say like, okay, yeah, at least that was what devotion looked like to me. It
Mm-hmm.
was really just searching, looking for anything I could find that would just help me know more about the Lord, know more about his mind, his heart, about certain things that I was going through, so things like that. That was me for a while. And then I'd say more recently it has become a lot more personal. So now it's a lot more personal, a lot more intimate. It's now like I can see him,
Mm.
like it's about him now,
Yeah.
the Lord himself, which is goals, is where you do want to go to when we're talking about something like devotion. But I mean, by the time we talk a bit more, I'll share how it's okay if you don't start there.
Mm.
It's okay if you don't start from loving the Lord himself,
Mm.
it's okay actually. I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves to be there. It's like, I don't feel passionate about this thing yet, so I'll wait until I feel passionate before I start.
Mm.
But no, it usually doesn't work like that. Usually, sometimes the reason that you are, if what you have now is, I know that I'm on the wrong path, and this looks like this is better for me. Like praying is better for me, and going to church is better, or um reading the Bible is better for me now.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the entirety of your reasoning, it's good. Start
Mm.
from there.
So.
And then when you move from there, you will see that the Lord is beautiful. You will see that the Lord is good. You will see that the Lord is, wow, I love this guy. And then you can now flow into like
Mm.
intimacy,
Yeah.
But it mustn't start from there, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I've already said what
No,
I
I
wanted to
mean,
say.
like
But yeah,
it's really good. I think that's a good landing,
yeah,
to what we want to then talk about. I know that you then mentioned that you had like ups and downs
yeah,
in your devotional life.
facts.
So I just want you to shed a bit more light on that. Like, what struggles did you have in maintaining a
Devotional
devotional life
life.
in Christ? Because I mean, you seem to have started from an early
Yeah,
age. So it's like it was a part and parcel of you.
yeah,
It's like some people are at stages in their life now where it's at the age of 30 that they are coming to the knowledge of Christ. So it's like quite difficult fitting it into their current
yeah. The phase of
activities,
life.
their
Yeah,
phase of life, how to divert their interest to it. But for yourself, who has been in the faith for quite some time, you then had struggles.
of
I'm just
course.
like, did you have those struggles in your early years? Do you still have those struggles?
Facts. Yeah,
Like maybe when last did you struggle? Did you
yeah.
struggle last week?
I'm done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get what you
But
mean.
yeah.
In terms of like just painting a picture of what a struggle,
Mm,
maintaining a devotional life has looked like for me
mm,
personally. Yeah, it's I just find experientially that it seems
mm-hmm,
as though this is how the Christian walk usually
mm-hmm,
goes. It's like this, then like this, and it just keeps going like that for some
mm,
reason. I don't think it has to be like that, but um for me, I would say one thing, or one of the first things that affected my devotional life was what I explained earlier, where it was
Yeah.
like I took my eyes, off the Lord. It was
Of
like,
the
okay,
Lord.
you know what? I want to look somewhere else. I
Mm.
want to, whether it's like, and then it was just secondary school. So it's like, oh, I want to be a cool kid. Oh, I want
Mm.
to do what the cool guys are doing, whatever
Yeah.
that is. I want to date people and see
Yeah.
just what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and that then was me taking my eyes
Of.
off the Lord. He wasn't the lens through which I was looking at all these things, because
Mm.
I could as well just gone to the Lord and told him like, oh Lord, people are dating in my class, and I like girls.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Like, what should we do about that?
Yeah.
Or there's this girl that I strongly believe with even with where I was at then,
Mm-hmm.
like if I spoke to the Lord about this thing, I would have a full on conversation,
Mm.
about, like, oh, maybe highlight this person to me, and I'd have known things that I'm knowing now, maybe then,
Mm.
but I didn't do that. So just that taking my eyes off, wanting to be in the world,
Mm.
was one thing that affected, and that was for a long time. That literally affected my devotional life from that point, secondary school, up
Mm.
until 2017, when I decided to follow the Lord. Because that was the thing. It was this: you can't have me and the world at the same
Mm. And
time.
the
You just
world.
can't. You can't.
Yeah.
Scripture literally says friendship with the world is
Enmity
enmity
with
with
God.
God. So that was where I was at. I
Mm.
wasn't like I was trying to be rebellious or anything like that, because I was actually, to a large extent, a good
Mm-hmm.
kid. Like, my eyes were not, I wasn't looking for the most. I just sincerely wanted to see, like, oh, is there anything like else?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does life have to be like this? But I realized experientially that you can't have God and you
Yeah.
can't have both. It's cause and effect. That's literally what that
Mm.
scripture is saying. It's like the second you choose this, you are choosing against this. It happens automatically,
Yeah.
because the the wisdom of this world is different from the wisdom of our God. Paul, I think, speaking, says to be carnally minded
Mm.
is death. To be
It's
spiritually
death.
minded is life
Yeah.
and peace. It's like they are two different things. They're two different worlds.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that then, but I found out eventually. So that, I guess some people might be able to relate with something like this, where it's like you feel torn, between
Mm-hmm.
choosing the Lord. It's like, I do like the Lord, I do love the Lord, I have a heart for God and his people, I love
Mm-hmm.
church, I have so much peace when I'm there, but I also want to have these friends that don't necessarily love the Lord as much.
As
They are
much.
doing things that are pulling me away from, like, the Lord, and inevitably are affecting my spiritual life, period. I still want to hang out with these guys too. It doesn't work. So that was definitely the first thing that I can identify, that affected my devotional life, period.
Mm.
Another thing was definitely just the difficulty of maintaining consistency. It was just a thing where I was like, there are good times when, like, oh,
Yeah.
Mama, I've been reading my Bible for like a week straight.
Mm-hmm.
Some people keep streaks and things like that. I don't think
Mm.
I did that then, because I was reading my hard copy Bible. But um times where I'm on that high, I've been praying every day,
Mm.
and then one day I just don't do it, and then one day turns to
2
three,
days.
and then three turns to a week, a month, and it's like I can't remember the last time I read my Bible. So that struggle that is peculiar to just remaining faithful, diligent in a
Mm-hmm.
thing, period,
Mm.
was definitely something that I experienced at different, points in time as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know another thing was, sometimes devotion is hard. Sometimes just feeling out of it.
Out of it. Yeah.
Like, this particular sesh didn't really hit.
Hit.
It's like, it's just, I'm there. I'm praying, and I've been praying for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it just feels like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You get, like, I feel so disconnected from what is even happening right now, from the prayer that I've been praying.
Mm.
Those also, there were days like that, and those days also definitely, sometimes could lead to um me not praying again, it's just like, oh, I don't even know whether I can't sense the Lord, his presence. I can't really, is he here? Is he not? Is he, involved in this? So when things like that would happen, that also would affect, my devotional life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess those are
Yeah.
a couple of things.
No, that's a really good one to see. Um, I think the next thing I'd like to then see is how was life at that point in time
Yeah,
for you? And what I'm saying is, being from a family where you were brought up, I mean, the Bible says, bring up your children in the way of the Lord. Did you have any hypocritical moments? And the reason why I'm asking is because it's part of why we are doing this particular series
yeah,
where a lot of people are dying on the inside. A lot of people are hurting on the inside. A lot of people are hiding a lot on the inside. So it's like they're pulling off a front as opposed to what they're really going through.
yeah.
So were there times when, you weren't there, but you just had to act
Like you were.
like you were
Yeah,
there?
I mean, opera.
And maybe if you've been there, then you probably be able to then explain to us what you think on why this happens. Like why, like what reasons do you believe men are afraid of sharing their struggles?
I mean, I get that. Hypocrisy is I mean, in quote, is something that's very easy to fall into,
Mm-hmm.
especially as Christians, because we were taught. We know the lingo, we know the verses, we
Mm,
know. So when you're in that space, I found that that was my experience a lot
mm-hmm.
of the time when I was torn between God and the world. It was like, if I'm in a Christian setting, Christian space,
Yeah.
I've had family devotion for years. I know the verses. We've been memorizing Bible verses for time. So if I'm in a conversation, I can spring a couple up.
Spring one
I
up.
can relate
Mm-hmm.
to the context. I know the songs as well,
Yeah.
but my heart is far. Like,
Far
I'm
away.
not even remotely here. It's like I have that conversation, and straight from there, I'm going where I should never be going. Do you get?
I,
But it's like, I don't have a problem having those conversations. Sometimes, like, I even have them to the point of even really, like, starting to even remember, like, oh, I really do actually like this. Do you get? But in terms of just doing that, and then but your heart not being there, yes. I mean, it's
mm,
very easy, especially when you again know the lingo,
mm-hmm.
Christianese, Christian,
Yeah.
you've been in church. So yeah, that happens. Why people, or more specifically men, may find it difficult to share stuff like this is because one of the things I think you touched on. I don't know if you said it like now or when we were
When we're
speaking
speaking
previously,
previously, yeah.
but this thing about people and the people that we're looking up to, not sharing their struggles.
Mm,
You know, the reason why it's and there's a balance to it. Okay, I
yeah.
think it was when you were speaking about your dad saying you shouldn't cry.
Yeah.
There's I understand the idea they are trying to communicate, when they say,
Don't go.
um for example, one good illustration that I heard a while ago was a pilot. When a
Mm,
pilot is he's the leader,
mm,
on that flight. And when a pilot is flying and there's turbulence, even when he's telling you there's turbulence, his voice is calm. And his voice is not calm because he's not scared. His voice is calm because if he's screaming, all of us are
everyone.
dead. All of us are going to die before the
Ah,
plane crashes. If that mic goes on and
yeah.
you hear the pilot screaming, guys, we are
Say,
going to die.
say
Some
everybody.
people will die before the plane crashes. Do you get?
I'm just
So,
trying to assume how it's going to be.
you know, so he literally has to be calm for the sake of everybody else.
Mm,
That's kind of what is the concept that's being explained there. When they say, oh, as a man, you're the leader, you need to be this and you need to be that, and there's a place for that. The problem with imbalance now is where you're now not a real person anymore. It's like, is this always your state?
just
Are
wait.
you never worried? Are you never concerned? Are you never lost? Do you never not know what to do? we need to see that you as well, not in a way that is like, oh, you're comfortable in that, or in a way that doesn't pass across the point that we need you to pass across. The point is that this is me on some days as well. And it's so encouraging to see that. Just to see that, oh, this person I look up to goes through this as well.
Yeah.
I am normal.
Yeah.
That balance is so important. So when you don't see a lot of that, like, in all honesty, there are some and I mean, I'm not praying for, obviously, for men of God to fall or anything like that, but you know how, like, you've seen this man of God in your mind, you can't even imagine that this guy lies, or even like, what, you lied one day. Are you serious? Do you get it? It's strange, it's weird, but it shouldn't be. And I'm not, obviously, not saying that, oh, you should be comfortable sinning or comfortable in our weaknesses and things like that, but I'm saying be real according to wisdom, at least, because there are some things that you actually shouldn't be sharing. It's just not wise to share. It's not profitable to people that are listening.
Well.
Exactly. So allow the Spirit of God to guide you in terms of, at least if you're a leader, in terms of how to present it. But point is balance. Sometimes, at least if you're maybe speaking to somebody specifically, they need to hear that, oh, no, even me, like in my walk, like what we're talking about now, I've had like dips, weeks where I wasn't really praying, but I got back to it. So I think one of the reasons why guys maybe specifically don't feel comfortable in talking about things like this, because it's like, is this not like, am I supposed to be going through this? They don't see, it's not something that sounds like, oh, no, I'm with you, my G. Like, yeah, even I've gone through it as well. Do you get? So it's like, oh, okay, that means, okay, let's talk about this then. Like, since it's normal, to go through things like this. So I think that's one thing. People being more, other our leaders, I think, that are men, being more vulnerable about stuff like this. At least that's one. Two, I think people encourage guys a lot. You can talk to us. You can. Even when it's like Father's Day or something like that, all this, whichever, I don't even know what the days are, but Sasha did few days, the 1 and 2 chicken change that they gave us, in the year. Whereas like International Men's Day, you see women posting like, oh, it's okay to cry and things like that. And I know, and trust me, I'm not even saying it to like take the piss or anything like that. I know people are saying it because we're trying to bring back balance. And I applaud you for it. If you post things like that, that's amazing. But just as we are moving toward progress. Just telling somebody that it's okay to cry is not going to make them comfortable enough to cry, in front of you. It's like, I need to trust you, and that's another thing, that when we're talking about things like vulnerability, intimacy, trust is everything. In fact, intimacy does not exist without trust. You must trust who you're opening up to. You must trust this person before you can open up to them. So it's like, why don't guys open up to have people that they really trust, that are around them? Do you understand? So if it's not a thing of, oh, I don't know if this guy can even relate to this struggle that I want to talk to him about, that's one. If he can, do I trust this guy with this vulnerability? Do I trust this, my leader, with this thing? Abi, if I tell this, my pastor, now that this is what I'm going through now, because you, bassist, you, my leader, kind of vibe. Do you understand? Can I trust you with this thing? So it's beyond, oh, you can cry. Okay, well, thanks for the encouragement. No, genuinely, thanks for the encouragement. But please help us see that we can trust you. At least if you're interested in helping, at least the guys that you're around, you need to be someone that they registered in their heart that they can trust. And you can start from small things, like if they tell you something about something that's not that deep, how do you handle that? How do you receive that? Do you receive it in a way like, why can you be talking like that? Why are you doing as if? Trust me, he will not tell you a deeper struggle. If you're already making him feel like he shouldn't have said this. You understand? If you're
Mm-hmm.
open and you receive this person like, oh, that's so mad. Oh, are you better? How are things going? Don't worry. Here's this that can help. I saw this sermon that can.
That can help.
You
Yeah.
understand? Things like that. If that's how you respond when he tells you something that's not that deep,
Mm-hmm.
I think they might be willing to tell you deeper stuff. So trust for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, well said.
Thank you. Appreciate.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
I think one thing that stands out from what you've mentioned is um, a lot of times it's the expectations that people have of us. And I think
That
what
we're
we,
trying to live up
yeah,
to.
that we're now
Yeah.
trying to live up
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And it's about then understanding what is the standard, not what
What is
is,
real? What
yeah,
is
what is the
yeah.
real standard? Because it's kind of like when they were going to stone the prostitute,
Yeah.
right? And um, Jesus said, "He who is of no
He
sin should
brings
cast
that
the
balance.
first stone." Do you
Yes.
get? So he brings that balance, which means that he is the standard.
Exactly.
You understand? So
Yeah.
it's about seeing yourself, and that's one thing we're big on this side, on this podcast, which
Yeah.
is identity, right? Understanding like your identity. What is your true identity? To understand that, like saying that even the Bible says the righteous man falls seven
7 times
times and
gets up 8.
gets up again, you
Yeah.
know? So that means you don't just get up seven times. You get up. So it's like, if my math is correct,
Yeah.
wait, we listen,
Bro
we
said
don't
wait to
judge. We listen, we don't
because the math
judge.
might not math, but yeah.
But if you fall seven times,
Yeah.
it means you get up eight times.
Yeah. I
So my
believe so.
math is correct.
I believe
So
so.
more than
Yes.
seven
Yes.
times.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, people should judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, like understanding that God is the standard, so you see yourself as he sees you. And there's also the necessity, even where it says in the Bible that we should confess our sins to one another,
Yeah.
so it's like we
Mm.
can strengthen each other.
Yes.
I
Yes.
cannot
Yes.
help you in a
That you
struggle
may
if I
find
don't
healing.
know.
Yes.
Do you understand? If I don't know that you are struggling with this particular thing. And also, when you share your own struggles, it opens the door, opens a room and atmosphere for other people to share their
Yeah.
struggles. I remember when I joined my church, when I had just come into the faith, one thing that kept me there was seeing what people were also going through. Because one thing as human beings we thrive on is relatability. I can give you a quick example. I like all my secondary school memories are so people may judge me
Wild.
like, but it's like already gave me one about
Yeah.
secondary school,
Yeah.
but let's not say that one
Yeah.
again. But like it's like, let's say in secondary school now, I will be more hurt
Yeah.
when I get 4/10 because other people got 10/10. But if I get 4/10 and the
Mhm.
highest in class is five,
Context.
ah,
I
ah,
did tell you.
in my head I'm
A
like,
bad guy.
I'm one of the best
This
now.
4 is a
Ah, ah.
score.
Do you understand? It's a score now. So this four like, so it's like I can be like, there are other people who can relate to
Yeah.
what I'm going
Yeah.
through. So that means what I was seeing in that exam hall, you saw it too.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of people need to hear these things. And one thing I understand, or we should understand as believers, is that what we do is so important because lives are dependent on it. People need people they can relate with.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Like similarities within people. And now it's not that you should now thrive in sin and say, I'm
Exactly.
opening
Because
up
that's
to,
the balance I
you
wanted to
have to
bring to
draw a
that.
balance.
Like,
Not that you don't thrive in
don't
sin
get
so
comfortable
that
there.
other people, but yeah, it's about not just understanding that when you're going through this, number one is you're opening up for different reasons. One of those reasons would be the fact that you want help. Another reason is the fact that you can strengthen another person. Another reason is also because it helps you find people whom you can then be accountable to or learn from other people's lessons. It's not solely for
Yeah.
relatability. I
Yeah.
think it was
People
so
that can fan
important
your
to,
fire. Yeah. People that can.
people, not people that will encourage you and say, just,
Oh no, we did together, bro.
they say
We
it's
did
not
together,
only,
bro. Then two of
but
them I go just did there. No.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this then draws us to what practical steps can we then, you know, take
Yeah.
to to maintain consistency in devotion?
Yeah.
What practical steps do you personally, use to make sure, like what structures have you put in place to make sure you stay consistent in your
Yeah.
devotional life?
In terms of practical steps, I think where I want to start from with that is our mentality or our mindset when it comes to things like structure and spontaneity, concepts like that, because I find that when talking about something like devotion, or intimacy, there's a spontaneity to it. There's a, you can't really, you can't structure intimacy,
Intimacy.
that kind of thing. There's that idea,
Mm.
that you can't do that. It should be spontaneous. Even when we have like our regular relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, it's like, oh, I've,
See
the
now, he
spontaneity
has
of it.
come now. He has come in
I'm
relationship.
done. No, no, no. I promise we are still talking about devotional
Because
life.
any
I
small thing,
promise.
single people will collect. We've been trying. I've
But
been
yeah,
trying to.
I'm
If
done.
people notice on this podcast, I've been trying to avoid it.
To
But now,
enter
single
that,
small thing, small question, single people don't.
you still enter the matter
But catch
somehow.
your soul.
But yeah, there's this idea we have that somehow structure is in opposition with spontaneity. The or for example now, um even with things like a passion, so you're passionate about something, you're creative, for example now, when creatives want to create content, it's like, oh, I need to feel inspired before I can create something, that kind of thing. So it's now a thing of, do I wait for when I'm inspired to make content, or do I structure, like put times in place that I create content? Some people will tell you that, oh, it doesn't work like that. I can't just say I'm going to create content by 10 a.m. Between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. What if inspiration doesn't come? But the thing is, what I find is that structure actually helps creativity. It helps inspiration. It helps having that time that you have allotted for this thing, helps you to actually find inspiration in that time, so, or forces you to actually, because, and here's what I mean, they are basically are supposed to work hand in hand. So within the context of devotion now, for example, there are times that you need to learn how to honor the structure. There are times that it's not going to feel great. It is in your, and I was making that point when I was speaking the first time, when I said, some structure isn't bad. You can now begin to see that the Lord is beautiful, that the Lord is good when you first honor structure. If all you have is, you know what, I'm going to pray by 8 a.m. every morning, and typical, I'm going to pray when I wake up and before I go to bed, but you are seriously diligent with that. If you do that diligently and sincerely, genuinely, a time will come when you will need more than 8 a.m. and before I go to bed. A time will come when you need more than that. And the reason that is because you need to now, you are now growing in intimacy. What started as structure is now flowing into love, And if you talk to married people, they tell you that they have to schedule everything. They have to schedule everything. And I remember the first time I heard things like that, I'm like, how can you tell me you are scheduling? Even things like sex, they say they are scheduling that. I'm like, that's strange. That sounds weird. It's not supposed to be. But no, it doesn't. There are times that I have gone to the place of prayer just because that was the time that I've said I will go and pray. And when I entered there, I didn't enter there feeling like, oh, this was going to be an amazing session. But by the time I left, oh my God, it just something that just started as, oh, thank you, Lord. Before I know, I was raging in tongues, and it was such a powerful moment. But I didn't go there knowing that was going to happen. I went there because I honored the structure. I honored the time that I allotted to devotion. Sometimes you need to start with honoring structure. It's very important if you're going to have a steady devotional life. If you're going to have a consistent devotional life, honor structure. Honor structure. The time that you set to pray, pray. Honor the Lord. Because that's really what you're doing actually. If you have set a time to pray, honor the Lord, because the Lord is going to be there. The Lord is not playing with those. If you pray around a certain time continuously, there is a thing that He does where that time becomes a very spiritually potent time. It's almost as though there was a time that I was praying around a certain time consistently, and before the time reaches, I started to know. Like it was almost as though I'm in the kitchen, but it's as if I'm praying in tongues already. It's like, what happened is because of the system that I've created. It has made that hour potent. It has made that hour potent. So now, whenever that time is coming close, my spirit is already as though the Lord is calling me to that place, if that makes sense. It's possible. How did it happen? It started with structure, picking a time, honoring that time. Because the Lord will come at that time. He will, if you have agreed with Him. This is the place, Lord, that we will meet. This is the time, Lord, that I would love to meet with you, Lord. Please bless me with your presence. I promise you, you are sincere, you are serious. The Lord will be there. The Lord will be there. So I said all of that to say that what starts with structure can lead into intimacy. But you have to honor structure first.
Honor it.
Yes, honor the Lord, and honor the time that you have set to meet with the Lord. It's so important. If it's devotion we're talking about, you have to get this. If you want to pray only when you are feeling you'll be all over the place. You'll be all over. There are times that you set to pray. You go and pray at that time, and you receive information that you didn't even go there planning to receive. The Lord will tell you things about your life. You didn't plan to receive it. Why? Because you came at the time that you set to come and pray. Just go. The time that you set doesn't say anything about what is going to happen at that time. Just go. When you go to that place of prayer at the time that you set, that's when spontaneity can happen. You can go there and worship. Start with worship first. Gauge how the Spirit of God is leading you. If you're feeling like, oh, no, it's not this song, follow the Spirit of God. It's another one. Oh, it's not worship. Oh, it's supposed to be prayer. Start praying and just go on that journey. But go on that journey at the time that you have set to go on it. You understand? So it's a combination, of structure and one thing that I would say. And then,
collabo.
Yes, una collabo.
Beautiful.
I tell you. So yes, definitely use the two together. They work hand in hand actually, and they both help our devotional lives for sure. And then strive toward intimacy, because the truth is, the whole point of this conversation that we're having is actually that's where we're going. It's the point of you spending time in the presence of God is so that you get to a point where you see Him. You see Him and you are there for Him. It's no longer a thing of you're not praying. God, that's what now makes prayer appealing. It's not about the time you are praying. It's not about prayer itself. It's about where prayer is carrying you to. It's about who prayer is carrying you to. But you hear people that talk about prayer as if prayer is the goal in and of itself, as if the length of time that they prayed is the reward in and of itself. But you have not caught it yet. It's like the only reason I'm spending this much time here is because this is the time that I'm not yet done. That's why. That's why it's 5 hours. I'm not done yet. As opposed to I'm trying to hit 5 hours. No. I'm not trying to hit 5 hours. I'm not trying to hit 3. I'm not trying to hit 10. I'm not done yet. I will leave when I'm done, whenever that is, And when that's the kind of mentality you have when you're going into the place of worship or prayer, it makes all the difference. It makes all that. You don't brag about something like that. That's not something to brag about. You don't go around telling people I spoke to my girlfriend for 2 hours. No, you just talk to her until the conversation was finished.
So say you just met the lady, and you're now telling somebody, you be like, bro, we spoke for like 2 hours.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, we do that.
We spoke for like 2 hours. Actually, because 2 hours long now.
I think
2 hours now interview.
That you could keep her engaged. But I think you get the point.
No, but I totally get the point.
It's not. Prayer isn't the goal in and of itself. Study isn't even the goal in and of itself. You are looking for Him. He has now become important. And again, even if that's not where you're at yet, honor structure. If what you have is, if all you have is that that this life, the path I'm currently on is not helping me. I
Mm-hmm.
need to change to this one that will help me. Start praying because of that. Start studying because of that. That is enough information to
Yeah.
start. By the time you start, you will begin to see the Lord. You will begin to know the Lord. You will begin to, oh more, I didn't know that when I pray, I can get clarity like this.
Like
Oh,
that.
the Lord is actually interested in telling me
Tell me.
things. By the time you realize that, prayer becomes more appealing. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are getting acquainted with the voice of God.
Mm.
Things are unfolding as you are just
Mm.
going to the place.
Yeah.
So whatever good reason you found to go, go.
Mm.
But eventually, you should get to a point where it's about God now.
It's about
It's
God.
about God now. Now I go there because I actually just want to worship Him. I know that God would like for me to, like, I believe God woke me up this night to give Him some
To give
worship.
him some worship.
And you know what? Let me do that for Him. I believe God woke me up at this certain time in the morning.
Mm.
Normally, I don't wake up at this time, but all of a sudden, I woke up by 4 or 5. What happened? I think the Lord wants me to worship Him for some time. I just go and play songs that you know that He will like, and you go and give Him worship. And in that place again, so much revelation. You won't even be begging for it. It will just be coming. You are wondering how some people are deep. Scripture says that the secrets of God are with those that fear Him. I'm telling you, if you begin to see David,
Yeah.
the reason why David was deep like that, there's only one statement that the Lord made about this man that qualified the guy. A man after my heart. The guy is looking for me. That guy was a king, he was a priest, he was a prophet. This guy effortlessly was flowing in revelation. I don't think he was looking for the things that he knew. He just, by virtue of fellowship, most likely, would see things, hear things, know things.
Yeah.
The secrets of the Lord, how can I do this thing? I will not tell my friend Abraham. Abraham didn't ask for information on Sodom and Gomorrah. God told him because he's his friend. It must get to a point where you are no longer, it's not about the prayer point anymore. Lord, Alpha, I'm here in the name of Sharo Pro, and you are just go just because of him. And inside that place, things will be, he will tell you things about your children, things about you've not thought to ask them. So honor structure. Honor that time.
I really love what you said about structures, because a lot of times we find that one of the biggest issues we have in this life, even outside of religion, outside of intimacy with God, is certain structures.
Yes.
Certain structures. You find that a lot of things, say for example, if you're like me, I keep telling people I have insomnia, but I don't believe I have insomnia. I just think I don't have a sleeping structure.
Fair
Like,
enough.
I don't have a time when it's okay, it's time
lights
to
out.
sleep.
Yeah.
I just, because when I realized was January this year, when I had moved to a new house, but then I didn't have my computers that would normally keep me busy.
Yeah.
So I found that once it's 9 p.m., I'm too sleepy. And normally, when I sleep by 9 p.m., I wake up around 1 or 2, and then it's difficult to sleep.
Again.
But, brother, I slept from 9 till it was time to pray in the morning. So I realized that all I had was my phone.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not really a texter. We listen, we don't judge.
Asha.
It's not, but so just having my phone
Yeah.
wasn't doing it for me. So by 9 p.m., that tiredness that I'm saying does not come,
Yeah,
it
it
came.
came. Yeah.
And now that I'm settled in my new place and I have my computers and everything, now I cannot sleep again
Yeah.
till like 1 a.m. So you find that those structures they are very important.
Tell
And
you.
there's something I always say, that any boundary you don't set now will be a limitation ahead of you. It will still be set. So it's like they tell you build this wall now, you don't build the wall. In future, that wall will build itself. The only difference now is that you can purpose what you've built. But if something else has been built for a different purpose, I don't know if you understand what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. So it's like if I tell you build this wall now, this wall is so that you don't get to this point. But when this wall now, when you now keep going and the wall is now built here, you can, like, it then becomes a limitation to you, because this is the wall that is now stopping you from
I'm
doing,
going.
where you could have just set
Yes,
it.
because people do get bound by structure a good number of times. So and this is so apt for this particular
Mm.
topic. A lot of people, when life changes,
Mm.
they are trying to they are unable to change with life, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So what devotion looks like to them is what it has always been.
Mm.
It's like, oh, now I'm a mom, for example. I can't wake up and do 3 hours in the morning the way I was doing when I was a single woman. So now my devotional life is in the bin. Do you get? Because I have babies now. Like,
Mm.
I have to get them ready for school. The time that I'm supposed, and I've heard, I think even Jackie O'Perry, I heard her talk
Yeah.
about this, where it's like, oh, what does devotion now look like for me in this new season? I've
Yeah.
also had conversation with friends, where it's like, ah, my devotional life is really suffering. And I'm like, I'm sensing that it's suffering because there is a way, when you say devotion, there is
Mm.
something you have in your mind. It is you get your highlighter, you get
Mm.
your note, your journal, you arrange all those things together. And if you can't do that, you are not praying.
Mm.
So now the structure that was supposed to help is now a limitation. It's not allowing you to go into the next season or adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an instance where structure can now become a
Can now become
problem.
problem. Yeah.
Don't limit devotion to the structure that you built,
Mm-hmm.
for in a certain season. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, if you're in a different season,
Mm.
flow, adjust.
Mm-hmm.
If now you have to walk to work, let
Mm.
that be devotion now. It's like, okay, every time now I'm switching to prayer walks
Mm.
as opposed to being on my knees
Mm-hmm.
in the morning for the so amount of time. Now I'm turning to prayer walks.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the shift is,
Mm.
move with it and let that become the new structure, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So yeah, I
I
think it's
think
also
I
a
like
helpful
that you
point.
mentioned prayer walks now, because the next thing I'd be keen to hear is, what varieties do you
Yeah,
have in your devotional life, and what varieties can you also suggest,
yeah,
to anyone listening to this, as to, because like you said, sometimes there's going to be a shift. Because I remember when I had just found Christ, I used to join this prayer at, I think it was 7 a.m. And it was 7 a.m., which means it would run into 8 a.m. And then 7 a.m. in Nigeria would be, oh God,
I'm
really?
not sure.
Releasing
Well,
your own judge. Releasing your own judge. You know what? Leave that part. But what I'm just saying is, I
yeah,
used to join the prayers, and it would last for about an hour plus. So then my uncle would ask me to come help him out at his office, and I'll be like, okay, but you can't see me before 9 because I need to do my prayers in the morning. But the truth is, it worked out for me because I was only going to help him at his office,
yeah,
right? So I mean, now free work now.
yeah,
So like, it's me that will come when I can come. But when I then started working like my own job, like, where I'm now paid
yeah,
to come, I found that I couldn't join those prayers anymore. And anytime I joined them, they were not fulfilling anymore
yeah.
because my mind was quite divided. So what I found was that I I had replaced intimacy with God.
Mm.
It's like I found that I could not pray on my own without being led to pray by someone else, if
Okay.
you get what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say,
yeah.
without being led by someone else. But I think what we are now trying to drive at
That's
now
become
is,
a crutch
yeah,
in
because
some
when
sense.
we talk about structures, some of us, our structures, like just like it was for me, my structure for prayer was to wake up at 7 a.m. to pray. But that's because there was someone leading at 7 a.m. But now the thing is, what of when I can't wake up at 7 a.m.? If I wake up at 8 and that person is not there to lead, am
Am
I
I
still
pray?
going to pray?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Am I still going to pray if I wake up and that person is not there to lead? Because that's one thing that I used to struggle with. So I'm now like, okay, if, because you mentioned prayer walks,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
And
So,
variety.
so what varieties can we then add? Because you see that maybe because you go to the office, so maybe taking a longer walk to the office so that you can add like a bit of
Sometime. Yeah.
prayer time
Yeah.
whilst walking, so what varieties do you add to
Yeah.
yours?
And I really think that variety is important. I think just because of how we are as human
Mm.
beings, to be fair, I think we get bored very easily,
Uh,
period. So I do think variety is important. I mean, there's a wide range.
Mm.
Um, fellowship with brethren is
Mm.
definitely one. There are a lot of times where like the Lord has spoken to me in the worship service, my regular Sunday service, a worship event. So if you see like a minister that you trust, is hosting an event, a worship event, that kind of thing, it's good to
Mm.
go there. Those are places that you can definitely meet with the Lord, spontaneously.
Continuously.
So those are good. Your regular church service, those are good. Your own, I find that it's really good having like a place,
Mm.
a room, for example, in your house where you pray.
Mm.
That's where you go
And
to
once you go in
pray.
there,
That is it.
it's time for
There's a
business.
way that those rooms carry some energy, man. Like once you've entered the place, or
Mm.
even you know that it's about to go down. So having that is really good as well.
Really good.
Sometimes when I get bored, of the same pattern
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing maybe for days,
Yeah.
I go on walks for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Prayer
I
walk.
just if Saturday morning or just a morning that I have time, I leave my house and I just talk to the Lord as I'm going.
Mm.
Sometimes it can be in the evening if you're in a safe area, please, and you can afford to take like night walks,
Night
that
walk.
kind of thing. You can do that as well. Um, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I think for just because study is also part of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
having like study groups, things like that
Mm.
are really good. Having people that you learn from, just going there to learn. The Lord speaks. I joined one recently. I don't
Yeah.
do a lot of that, but I literally joined it on Monday. It's a friend of mine that leads it, El Shakar. And I
Mm.
joined, yes, he does this thing 5 a.m. on Mondays. I joined, bruh, something that the conversation I was literally having with the Lord the day before. He spoke on, touched things and just expanded the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
the whole conversation for me. And he didn't even know that
Mm.
he did that, but how did that happen? A conversation that started in secret,
Secret.
my conversation with the Lord. I joined a Bible study
Mm.
group class and the conversation continued.
Continued.
So things like that. That's why church is good. Like any of these systems that you see how we've created, to
Mm.
help your devotional life, help your progress in the faith, as our CCI family will say. Really plug
Mm.
in. Don't let them be a crutch. Have your secret place, time, whether it's in the room that you've set to pray in, whether it's in the prayer walks, whatever the case may be, your own personal Bible study. Have those and then plug in, I guess, to other
Mm.
systems that have already been
That have
created.
been created.
Yeah, I'd say I think those
Mm.
are a few
No,
at
that's
least.
really
I
good.
think if you have any in the comments,
Please,
that like, yeah,
yeah,
something you've
let's
done that we've not heard
that we've
people
not
talk
heard
about.
or help me.
Maybe it's while you're cooking. I beg, let us know
Yeah, let us
how you
know.
do it. I think,
Mm.
yeah, that would be
No,
good.
that's really good. I think those structures, like those varieties, are very
Yeah,
like important. The prayer walks, because sometimes what it really does for you is, like, so say then, yeah, again, secondary school. You people send your children to secondary school in Nigeria.
more.
Maybe
For
do.
this
I
update,
think secondary
is
schools
it still valid?
maybe not too.
Maybe it has casted now. I don't know, but
But then in secondary school, I'm reading something and I'm trying to remember. So now, one of the easiest way for me to remember is for me to walk out of that setting.
yeah,
So let's say I'm reading in the classroom now. I'll walk out of the classroom, walk down the hallway, and I'll keep saying that thing to myself, saying that thing to
yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah.
And by the time I
Facts.
come back into the classroom, it has stuck in my head.
Meditation. That's literally
Now,
what it
what
is.
I've
Yeah,
done is I have shut out everything within my immediate environment and taking myself to a different environment of which I am not accustomed to anything in that environment. I don't know if you get what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. All between at that point in time is between me and my book, me and my book. So now, but with that prayer walk, what you're doing is it is you and God
yeah,
at that point in time. So I don't. Would you advise a prayer walk on a high street?
yeah. I think that one definitely boils down to the person. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like I am able to focus when there is
Hmm.
busyness around me. Actually, it
Hmm.
actually helps me to Like, for example, if I want to read something, I can actually read with like music
Mm.
playing in my
Oh
ear
yeah, I can do that
because
too.
I can zone out.
Zone
Like,
out.
I'm not even, it forces me to
Mm.
really pay attention. I can, if
Mm.
I'm reading without anything happening in the back, I can sleep.
Mm.
Do you get? But
Mm.
sometimes the noise around
Mm.
forces me to focus a good number of
Mm.
times. So yeah, but I don't think everybody's like that.
Yeah, not
I think some
everyone is
people
like
will
that.
be paying too much mind to everything
Mm.
that's going on. So
Mm.
I guess know yourself.
Because I think for myself,
Yeah.
I love music, so I do everything with music. My Spotify wrapped up this year. I had 151,000
Mm.
minutes.
It's not how many minutes are in the year.
As in
Just know how
insurance,
much
because
of your
because
life.
yeah, so because I do everything with music, but I think where I then draw the line is that
Yeah,
I love people too much. So if I'm walking through a busy street, I'm so bothered about every single
that's
person.
happening. Yeah,
Like, do you understand? Like even since my trip in Nigeria, one thing I don't like people being oppressed. So at the slightest sight of oppression, I want to come in.
yeah,
So I feel like I could be having a prayer walk and I just see something that I feel like is not right, and
yeah,
I want to attend to it. And I think that is a problem.
yeah,
And the reason why is that at that point in time, it's not that, because see, even when it comes to preaching the gospel, it's not every time. Do you understand? There's a
yeah.
time to share the
Of course.
word, and there's a time to grow in the word. There's a time to pray for yourself. There's a time to pray for people. Do you understand? So you cannot now, because what some people then do is because they're doing a good thing, it then replaces the necessity for devotion with Christ. An example is I host this podcast. I still need to have my own personal
Oh
devotion
yes.
with God in order for me to grow. Because I need to grow to also help people
Yeah,
grow, right? I need to be balanced to give people balance, right? So it's like I could then say, oh, well, at the end of the day, I'm still doing the work of God.
yeah.
So, by doing this podcast, even if I'm not waking up in the morning
To
to read my Bible, I can see. But let's not forget that like we were talking today, before we started, when you were talking about when Paul said being fully grounded.
yeah,
Do you understand? So it takes a lot to be fully grounded in
yeah.
the word. You
It's
know,
also why I spoke about that honor thing.
yeah.
Like, honestly, the reason why a lot of us struggle with our devotional life is because of a lack of reverence.
Mm,
It's a lack
exactly.
of reverence. If you're,
Mm,
for being honest with yourself, you don't revere who you are supposed to meet at that time. You
mm,
don't. You don't revere the Lord yet.
mm.
So when you do, you'll be serious about
Um,
going to that place the time that you're supposed to go to that place and time. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Facts.
This has been a great conversation
I've
with
enjoyed
you.
it as well.
It's been so good to hear about this. I think one thing that I took for myself, we listen, we don't judge. And when you were talking about prayer, when you mentioned 5 hours, I think even the first thing that came to my mind was, I was gonna say, you pray 5 hours.
Oh, bro, no, please. I said no such thing.
you know, but
Yeah,
like sometimes I think I'm a bit focused on how
yeah.
long am I praying?
Metrics.
Do you
Yeah,
understand? And it's not about the metrics. However, we should be able to pray that long.
yeah,
Do you understand? But it's then understanding your environment. In what environment do you thrive? It's like when you read secondary school again, you're reading for an exam and you know what time. So me then it was when I wake up early in the morning and my head is clear.
clear. Yeah,
It's easier for me to store things in my head, and I kind of have a photographic memory. I mean, that's what I say, sha. If I
yeah.
know in my memory, so
You
if
cannot
if you
argue.
don't have photographic memory, sorry, but like
Yeah,
I can then remember everything that happened in the morning. So when I'm trying to remember maybe the definition of something, I'm remembering the exact position of sitting
where
on my
you are,
bed
yeah, same.
while I was reading
Yeah,
that particular thing, and then
same.
it helps me.
Yeah,
So is then understanding in what situations and what times do you thrive in your devotion, and that will then help you. I find that with my kind of life and structure, like my schedule,
yeah,
I'm so busy in the day. So I came to the understanding that if I don't get my devotion done in the morning, it affects me because by night I'm a bit too distracted already. I'm not married. So sometimes we're on the phone,
Yeah,
we're on the phone and asking, "Have you eaten?
yeah.
Please eat, or
Yes, so
if you
I
don't
did
eat,
tell
I'll
you
be
that one fit be
angry."
another 45 minutes.
So yeah, like it was a really, really, really great conversation,
Thank
and
you.
I did learn a lot. And like I said, what stood out for me was the prayer part. Like when you're focused on the metrics, and it's like a lot of times as believers we get soaked into what other people do.
Yeah,
Other people are praying 3 hours, so you want to pray 3 hours, but it's like it comes in stages, and even the things that we do now that seem easy were once difficult for us. It's like as a baby, you see people walking, and that's why you want to walk. Then you notice that you have to first crawl before you then walk. You have to stand up, fall down before you learn how
how
to
to
like
walk. Yeah.
walk and gain that balance. So everything comes in stages. But sometimes you just want to jump at, I want to pray for 3 hours. And I know that there's a part where you could be lazy and you're just not willing, or you're too distracted to do it. And like I said, like that's what I struggled with, and still struggle with sometimes, where I'm like, I want to pray, but I'm looking like before I pray, I'm premeditating. Is 20 minutes enough for this
Yeah,
prayer? Is 30 minutes enough for this prayer? But the truth is, I need to reverence God,
yeah.
give that honor that He deserves. That right now, sir, I want to spend time with. Do you understand? So if you want me for an hour, I'm ready to give you an hour.
Yeah.
If you
Honestly,
want me,
what
yeah.
does that session demand?
Mm,
Like, oh, if it's something depend because it differs.
mm,
There are times where like I've heard people talk about this thing. Oh, pray until you feel like you release in your spirit,
mm,
for example. And it's like, what does that particular situation demand? If you're praying about something, maybe it's like spiritual warfare type, of situation, if you're there long, it's because of necessity. It's
mm,
because like I need to be here. Like I'm not done yet. Like I was
mm,
saying earlier, like are you done?
mm,
Like have you finished? Do you know
mhm,
that you have done enough? That's more so as opposed to, oh, I need to. Should I do this for 20 minutes? Should I? No. Are you done?
mm,
Do you get? So
exactly.
yeah.
Mm,
Um. Then depending on as the context changes,
mm,
I guess that would affect the time
mm,
as well. But yeah, more about like
mhm.
the context of the
Context.
situation as
Hmm.
opposed to I'm trying to pray for this
I'm trying
long
to pray
or
for
that
this
long
long.
or
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you just reminded me of something. And this time it's not secondary school, but this one is African mother.
I'm done.
Then my mom will be praying. Next thing, there's some prayers that she will now pray that you think she's about to end the prayer.
I'm telling you.
So maybe she will now say, it sounds like you're rounding up.
In
Next, you just
conclusion,
hear, and we also pray for our
more
leaders in this country,
wahala di.
that may they lead us well.
Mm.
That we pray for all the drivers on the road. And then you're like, this prayer has not ended, though.
My
It's going up
God.
again. Then it's as if the Holy Spirit will now remind her of something that she should not pray for. So she'll
Wahala.
now lead those
Intercessor.
ones, and she'll leave intercession and go back to us.
I'm
Pray
done.
for this one, pray for this one. Then he thinks about to round up. Then she now remembers that, oh, she has not prayed for the driver. That the driver, he mentioned his wife is sick, or this, and then you're just like,
My
please,
God.
can we
Please, can we go to
end,
bed? I
end this
beg.
thing? I
Yeah.
remember one time, yeah, we listen, we don't
I'm
judge.
done.
I've been warning you, but like my mom was praying, and I think she then had a phone call, and she had to take the phone call. So before she came back, I just said the grace. So my siblings too joined me. All of us collabo. We just shared
Said
the
the
grace.
grace. You have
So by the
ended
time
it.
she came,
The
nobody
question
was
has
in the living
finished.
room
I did
again
tell
now.
you.
But yeah, so it's been really great,
Yeah.
and I've been blessed. I'm sure you have been
I know
blessed
I enjoyed it
by this
thoroughly.
conversation,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you all have been blessed.
I hope
But
so.
guess what? Don't listen to this alone. Binge watching, single people collected.
I'm
Find
done.
your new
Oh my
spouses,
God. What?
watch it with someone, share it with someone that needs to hear this. Man, let us spur ourselves up, to open up about things that we are going through. So share this with someone who needs to hear this. But don't forget, I remain your number one host on this podcast, and this is King James. Please go to his page, show him some love, engage with his content. His
I'll
wonderful.
appreciate it a lot.
You
Thanks.
wanted to escape. You
What's that?
owe us
Eh?
some bars.
My God. My
You owe
God.
us some bars. Okay,
My God. My God.
should I
Okay.
give you beats?
Okay. Since you are a UK audience now,
Hmm.
let me show you guys my my trying UK
Okay.
accent. What was it in I wrote it? I told you I don't free. No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't freestyle, so it has to be something I've written before. This is the start of a new era. Yahweh calls the shot. I'm the bartender. In other words, I'm the bearer of a newsletter sent by a carpenter. But best believe that I don't play, boy. Hugh Hefner. Saved and I got style like Christian Dior. Kings aren't elected. I ain't the governor.
Come on.
No, I'm stopping there. It's okay.
I'm not the governor. Wait. Roll it again. I'm not the governor. Neither am I. Stay tuned.
I did tell you, come for the next episode.
Next episode, and I'll finish it. I just didn't want to give you guys everything all at once. But it's been a great time being here, like we do every time. See you on the next episode on Backed by the Word.
Thank you so much for having me.
Series as well. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a great time. But stay tuned. You can see there's something here for you all. But this will be on the next shot that will come after this, right? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know what God has done in your heart by the message that has been shared today. And I remain your number one host, your favorite host on this podcast, Backed by the Word, Dumaje Francis. And this is your one and only Mr. Kng James.
Thanks.
And we're out.